In the previous lecture, we have seen that the logistics costs are mainly related to transport, handling, inventories, and lost sales because of stockouts. We have already analyzed the transport and handling costs. Now we will focus on the costs related to the inventories. The inventory carrying costs of the item I and for the period T, also referred to as inventory holding costs, depend on the average value of the inventories, that is, the unitary value of item I multiplied by the average inventory level of item I in period T, and on the inventory carrying costs as a percentage of the item value. More specifically, the inventory carrying costs include the physical storage costs, the assets costs, depreciation, and obsolescence. Let's analyze them one by one. The physical storage or warehousing costs include the costs related to space, insurance, for example fire and thefts, and management, for example controls, inventory accounting, and so on. Space and management costs are usually proportional to the amount of inventories in the warehouse, whereas the insurance costs depend on the value of the goods. The asset costs depend on the amount of capital tied up in inventories, which should be valued considering only the costs that have been anticipated due to inventory policy and the cost of capital for the company, which is affected by internal and external factors. More specifically, the two factors that mostly affect the cost of capital are the company liquidity, that is, the company can have cash, open credit lines, or no cash and no open credit line, and the presence of alternative investments, that is, the company needs to do some investments or not. If the company has cash, it could keep the money tied up in inventories on a bank account, or it could lend the money. Therefore, the cost of capital is the interest rate paid by the bank or the lending interest rate. If the company is borrowing the money tied up in inventories, the cost of capital is the interest rate of the bank. In fact, if they have alternative investments, they need to ask for additional money and to pay the interest rate. If they do not have any alternative investment, they could save the interest rate if the money is not tied up in inventories, since they can pay part of the old loan. If the company has no cash and cannot ask for additional money, we need to consider the presence of alternative investments. In fact, if they have an alternative investment, they lose the opportunity to do this investment. Therefore, the cost of capital is the interest rate of the investment the company is missing because of the capital tied up in inventories. If they do not have any alternative investments, once again, the cost of capital is the interest rate paid to the bank related to old loans. So, in order to evaluate the cost of capital, we must consider the specific situation of the company. As for depreciation, it is the loss of value caused by the flow time of the inventories through the distribution network. Depreciation cost depends on the loss of value due to external factors, for example, price reduction trend in the electronic components market, whose effect is proportional to the delay from production to sale, and the loss of value due to internal factors, for example, damages of the packaging, which are more likely when products spend a lot of time within the system. Depreciation costs are a function of the quantity of goods that are subject to depreciation and of the average loss of value. As for obsolescence, it can be caused by spoilage, for example, perishable foods or medicines, technological development, for example, a new processor for notebooks, new models, for example, the restyling of a car, or fashion, for example, apparel products. Obsolescence costs are a function of the quantity of goods that become obsolete and of the average loss of value. For example, clothes that are obsolete could be sold at lower prices, leading to lower profits, sold through different channels or in other markets, leading to additional logistics costs and therefore lower profits, or destroyed, leading to no incomes plus destruction costs.